you doing? This is Coffee Break with Jimmy, and I guess there's a lot going on in Minnesota right now with the fraud, and I guess they've sent the ICE officers over there to arrest some of the illegal aliens in that neighborhood, and they're going after fraud, and I think Tim Waltz and this Jacob Frey are trying to cover. Maybe they're complicit. Maybe they're part of this. I don't know. Maybe Ilhan Omar is part of this fraud also. Already, Tim Waltz has already said he's not going to run for a third term as the governor of Minnesota. But they're already saying that this agent, this ICE agent, murdered this Renee Good. And apparently she is part of an organization that goes statewide, and it goes to other states also. I guess it's not just statewide, but it goes to other states to let people know to make some noise. To let them know that ICE is in town. They're going to arrest some of the illegal aliens there. And this is something that we voted on in the last election, and voted President Trump to do this. And he's already, the border is closed. Okay, they got some legal, I guess, or some legal crossings now. That's as you know. I mean, because you got, of course, you got one in New York. They got what's the name of that place in New York where they got legal immigration coming through Ellis Island, right? And so I know they're coming to the southern border. They're immigrating legally down there too. And Kristi Noem said that people can deport themselves legally. Well, not deport them. Yeah, they deport themselves and try to come back legally, instead of getting caught, and then when they get shipped off, then there's not a chance for them to come back legally. So there's about 2 million people that have done that already. But they're after the bad cats here in Minnesota and other states. But that's what was happening down there, and this Renee Good got in the way, parked her car in the street, tried to block the ICE agents. They got out of the car, and they told her that she had to get out of the car and move the car. And she didn't do it. She backed it up, and then she took off, hit the gas, and apparently was heading toward another ICE agent. And so, to defend himself, he shot the car, and she ended up getting killed. So that's unfortunate that this happened to her. And I guess she does have either one child or two, but that's unfortunate, and especially for them. But this all could have been avoided. And I think it could have been avoided also if the mayor of Minnesota, of Minneapolis rather, has sent in their own officers instead of telling them to stand down. Maybe this Jacob Free told them to stand down because there wasn't no local police department there helping the ICE agents there. They're pretty much on their own. And that's why I guess Kristi Noem is going to send out another couple thousand troops over there to help them out in Minnesota. Tim Waltz isn't helping them out either. He's not doing anything. I think they're complicit in this fraud. Ilhan Omar, I think they all got their hands. Well, how do you say it? They got caught with their hand in a cookie jar. And this fraud, they say, is anywhere from $7, $8 to $10 billion. I don't know. They say, some of them say it's even more than that, more like 30 billion. And they say this fraud exists in just about every state. They're talking about this happening in Ohio. And these are Republican states too, Ohio. But they said New York is loaded with fraud, and so was Chicago. Illinois is loaded with it, and especially over here in the West Coast. Washington State, Oregon, and California. I can't wait to see what happens in California. There's fraud going on here. I mean, the bullet train itself was only supposed to cost about $10 billion. Don't quote me on that, but I know it was somewhere in that neighborhood. And it's somewhere around $30 billion or more that's already spent, and they haven't had 1 foot of track laid yet. And so if that isn't fraud, I don't know what is. When I go to work, I can see this unfinished train. Been going on for some time now. I met a guy once in a coffee shop. He was here. He was doing an environmental study here for how this train was going to affect, the Central Valley here. And I said, well, aren't you a little bit late? You're doing an environmental study. They already started building the train. They already got part of the structure up. No track, but the structure to put the tracks down. And he goes, yeah, but I have to do this environmental study. I said, shouldn't you have done the environmental study a couple of years ago to see how this is going to affect the environment? And I think you're a little bit late on it, but of course, that's not my job. I don't know what he was doing, but I talked to this guy here. It was a while back. I met him at a coffee shop here in town. So that's just another part. They could be just paying this guy just to pay him to do an environmental study, and this is part of this fraud that's going on. I don't know. But if they send in the DOJ sends in their representatives here to take care of this, to look at all this, and Gavin Newsom says, oh, bring it on, there's no fraud here. Well, we're going to find out, Gavin, that we're so far in the hole, there's got to be fraud. And it probably exists in not just that area there, but so many different areas. Just like, the daycare centers in Minnesota. They got that stuff going on here, too. They have daycare centers that don't exist, but they're getting money. They're getting grants and loans to put these daycare centers together because that's a big thing, daycare. Everybody needs daycare that works. And so it's like getting free money. So we're going to find out. We're going to find out where this fraud is going. We're going to find out what kind of fraud. They had the ICE agents there in Portland today. There was two other people that belonged to the Trinidad group there from Venezuela. And they're terrorists. They're gangs. Just like MS-13. And I guess the one guy, he belongs to the group, and his wife, I guess she has some kind of a prostitution ring that's going on through there, where this is all illegal. They were going to arrest him, and they tried to use their car to run over the ICE agents, and they got shot. Okay, he got shot. I guess he got shot twice, and she got shot in the chest, and I guess. Now they're both in the hospital. They're going to find out where I guess they're stabilized right now, but they got shot because they tried to use their car to run over ICE agents. This is something that's going on quite a bit. Just like this, Renee Good, she did the same thing, and unfortunately she lost her life over this. Now the Department of Justice, they're going to investigate this, and this is federal investigation. The state of Minnesota says they want to do the investigation, but this is federal. So the federal, the Department of Justice, they're the ones that got to investigate this and find out what happened there. And we'll find out more about, I'm not going to pretend I'm an attorney, but I can see what I saw, and I think he pretty much was doing the right thing. He was defending himself. But we'll see what happens. But none of these states or cities, whenever ICE comes in there, they're on their own. You would think the local police would at least come in and tell the protesters and keep them at bay and keep them instead of blocking, traffic or doing things that they're doing to impede the progress of ICE and arrest these people or tell them they can't do this. They want to peacefully protest. Come on, you remember what happened the George Floyd thing in Minnesota back in 2020, right? Or 2022, I think it was. Maybe anyway, back in there when George Floyd, when he overdosed. Now this what was his name? That cop that he spent the rest of his life in prison for murder. When all he did was subdue him because George Floyd, he overdosed. That's what he did, and even they checked him out. They went into his blood system, I guess. What do they call that? I can't think of what they call it now. But anyhow, they checked him out, and he had taken a bunch of fentanyl, I guess, or other maybe some meth or something that he had for sale, and he overdosed on that. He didn't really get killed by this by this police officer in Minnesota, but after all that, they burned a police precinct down. I guess the police is down about 1/3 of what they normally have in Minnesota because nobody wants to be a police officer there because the state's not backing them up. I don't know. I don't live in Minnesota. I live in California. I know in California here we got our own messes out here. So we're going to see what happens when the Department of Justice comes in and does their thing here in California. Apparently this is supposed to happen in the next couple of days. So we'll see what happens there. But I think everything that's happening right now in Minnesota, I think they're just trying to cover up this fraud. Because, I mean, come on, you talk about, remember Doge, when Elon Musk and all his group there, where they found out all this fraud that was happening. People living 150, 250 years still drawing Social Security. I mean, I don't even know if Social Security's been around that long, but still, this USAID. Come on, we can go back and talk about a lot of things that are really fraud, and they say it exists in every state. So we'll see what happens, and we're going to see what happens in the state of Minnesota. And I think he's going to be nothing's going to happen to the ICE officer over there. I think he's going to be found innocent, and he was just doing his job. And it's unfortunate for this Renee Good, but maybe people ought to think a little bit more about what they're doing instead of trying to stop the federal police and the ICE agents and whatnot coming in and trying to do their job. Anyhow, this is Coffee Break with Jimmy. Please subscribe and press the like button and the notification bell. So next time I'm on, I'll see you then. Okay? Thank you.